Hey, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. In my last video of this month, I was talking to those of you who might be scrambling to lesson plan, you're really behind and you're doing it day by day. I talked about the top 4 things to do when you're approaching designing your course that way. So in today's video, it's a bit of a follow-up of like, okay, what complications might occur because of that type of planning and how to create solutions for those potential issues. So the first issue you might be having is, okay, well, you figured out your objectives and your activities that will make sure those are measurable, but you realize you need so many resources and materials in order for students to actually accomplish their goals. And so now you have so much time on your hands scrambling to make those materials or to find them. So if you've never heard of OER, so Open Educational Resources, then I recommend using this as a solution to this problem, as one solution, because these are resources that you can find online that are free to download and use without any issues with copyright, without any IP issues. They're available to teachers to use in their courses. I have a whole video about this, about OER, that I'll link below. And that links you to some resources that you can use, some websites you can use to download these resources. So that's that first solution of like find things that are already been created versus trying to spend tons of time making it all yourself if you're really falling behind in your lesson planning. Another potential issue here is you've either created too many activities for the week or not enough because again, you're making them so late in the game. So if you have too many activities, my recommendation is when you're creating them, when you're deciding on them, go ahead and create a priority list as well. So you know that, okay, when class period comes, I'm gonna start with this activity and then move on to this other one. And only if I have time, I'll do this third. So that way you're not like, okay, what should I do next? Because we don't have enough time for both of them. Like you don't have to have any decision making when you're actually teaching live because you have that list of, okay, yeah, I know this one was gonna go first, this one's gonna go second, and this one could be next class period if it's needed. Okay, so that's if you have too many. If you have too few, then I recommend just having a go-to backup plan for any class period. So one activity that could work at any time in your course. So this might be, for example, facilitating a whole class discussion. Maybe you have these like standard questions that you can ask about your content every week and it will work because every week has new topics. Okay? Or maybe it's a small group activity that you can, again, do every week because it functions for whatever it is you're teaching in your course. So just have that, again, one go-to in case you ever run short on activities. You know that that one will always help students get a better grasp of the concepts or the skills needed of the week. So that's the opposite if you have too few activities. Now, I mentioned that bonus 4th tip in that last video, which is looking ahead to like your first major unit assignment to make sure that you're scaffolding towards that and not just thinking one day at a time and realizing 4 weeks in that it didn't actually help build the skills and knowledge that students need for that actual first major assignment. Okay, so in this case, if you do find, oh wait, I've veered off course, we are not scaffolding to that major assignment, then my recommendation here is to really consider what's essential before that assignment is due. Okay, so you're going to veer all of your lesson plans going forward towards those essential pieces. Because there might be things you really want to teach, things that you know your students will enjoy, things that are exciting, that are happening in the real world tied to your concepts. And all that is lovely, but if they don't have these essential tasks completed, they're not going to be able to succeed in the major assignment. So that's what's really important before you get into the engaging, fun, exciting parts of teaching. You can hopefully get back to that with your second unit if you haven't been able to manage it with your first unit. Okay, so just really brainstorm, hey, what's essential? And let's make sure I build that in before that assignment comes due. And then potentially you might have all these assignments and they're scaffolding towards the major assignment, all that's good, you have no problems, you have your materials, but now you realize how much time it takes you to grade all these activities and the major assignment, right? And you realize I don't have time to do that much grading because I'm lesson planning so much and I have my research on my own courses and whatever the case may be, right? So you might have found that you have overwhelmed yourself with how much you have to grade. So what can you do here? It really depends. If you already have rubrics, that might speed up things. So that's at least good, where you can literally, rather than leaving comments, as a last resort, you might just, circle, hey, this is, level 1, this one's level 2, this one's level 2, this one's level 3. Your score is a 14 out of 20, right? No time for comments. Come see me in my office hours if you have any questions, or we can talk one-on-one feedback at that point. So that's the way the cookie crumbles, that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? So that can be a solution if you have rubrics. Now, if you don't have rubrics, then you might decide, okay, well, is it a assignment where I haven't said if it's worth points or if it's complete or incomplete? Then maybe you make that a complete or incomplete assignment, okay? So it's not, I'm grading effort. At this point, did you do it? It's complete. You didn't do it, it's incomplete. So that can speed up grading as well. And maybe at that point, you might be able to leave a quick comment because you're not giving like it's a 4 out of 5 or it's an 87 out of 100. It's, hey, you completed this activity, and here's one note that I noticed when I was reading your response, right? So that can be an option as well to speed things up if needed. Now again, these are solutions if like you're really drowning and you're just trying to get as much as you can accomplished to help make sure your students are succeeding in your class. It's not the frills, it's not the amazing course design that you had wished for, right? These are just what's needed because the situation is dire. If you do want to have a little bonus to kind of increase it from this is dire to okay, this isn't too bad, then potentially if, again, you can't give too much individual feedback to students on grading, then potentially give patterns that you noticed as a class announcement. So hey, if you want individual feedback on your assignment, go ahead and come see me. However, here's a few things I noticed when reading through your responses. This, was good. This one seemed to be confusing to a lot of people. Here's something to consider as you go forward that wasn't considered by many. And so that way, it's only like one response versus 30, 60, 90. And that way your students know, okay, yeah, she did read it, they did read it, and at least I have that feedback going forward. And if I want to, I can go to the office hour. They did mention to come see them if we wanted individual feedback. So that can be a little like higher tier than dire if you had the time to do that too. So the videos this month are a little different, right? It was kind of thinking of, hey, you know what, if you're really behind, what's essential? These are the things that I consider essential. Obviously, there's tons you can do to make your courses engaging, to make them run on a good schedule where you're not drowning. So I do recommend watching some videos below that I've linked to help with that. But hopefully, this will kind of get you to where you need to be, and then you can calm down hopefully soon in this semester. So if you found this video helpful, click like and let me know. Subscribe not to miss out on future content, and I'll see you next time.